What is up? All right, it is actually Monday. It's Monday, April 7th, 2025, and it's pretty late here. Had a long weekend, had a long day today already, so let's just jump right in. Let's see, where do we start? Okay, April 2nd was a big day. Donald Trump, he had already talked about how April 2nd was going to be a big day. That's when he was going to announce the latest round and technically supposed to be the final round of the official tariffs, right? I think I mentioned the tariffs before. They were sort of rolled out to a few select countries. I think initially it was just Mexico and Canada and China. And now with this last round, he went heavy on a lot of countries. Pretty much every single country out there that's got tariffs on the U.S. Where it felt like it was an imbalance. He went ahead and came out with some really, really big tariffs. And to no surprise, it really sort of shook the stock market. The stock market took another dive. It actually had a couple of days of going down quite a bit. And so we're much further down than we were over the last couple of weeks. And so, again, it's not a very good feeling. But, lots of people are saying that that's what's needed to essentially get us into a better place in the long run. But in the short run, it's definitely anyone who's got money in the stock market is feeling the pain. And, a lot of the companies that are, to I guess a certain degree, dependent on their stock price being really good, now that that's down, they might have to consider making some changes, making some cuts. And so we'll see how that impacts payroll and jobs and things like that. So a lot of people are still saying that hopefully this is a negotiation tactic. And assuming we start to see some of these countries, calling Trump and trying to negotiate, and if they do, then sure, maybe he'll lift some of those tariffs, and then hopefully that'll help get things perhaps into a better place. But again, some people are saying that this is kind of where it needs to be, and then there's a lot of others that are not very excited about where things are today. So we will see how this plays out. Um, okay, so Friday, we literally closed on that last property that we were in escrow on. We got the keys late Friday night. One of the sales from our prior properties, we had the furniture, we kept it, we put it in storage in one of our shops. Jazzy went ahead and already had a moving company picked out, called them. They came up Saturday morning. We met them at our house, drove to the shop, picked up all the furniture, drove up to the new house, and spent all day there unpacking, unloading, and trying to get a lot of things into place. Jazzy's parents also came with us, and had a lot of other sort of inventory supplies that we had purchased: plates, cups, glassware, silverware, sheets, towels, all that good stuff that's new, and brought that to the property as well. I unfortunately had an issue with one of my toenails from playing a bit too much tennis and didn't keep them trimmed, and I ended up going to urgent care and having one of my toenails removed. Not necessarily the biggest issue, although that did sort of put me out for the night. Once the pain, what do they call it? The injection they gave me. Once that started to wear off, the pain was it was pretty rough, and so I didn't sleep well Saturday night at all. I didn't really sleep at all, and so Sunday yesterday was pretty shot for me. Jazzy stayed at home, and eventually went and picked up some pain medication and some other antibiotics and stuff. But I was pretty much in bed yesterday while Jazzy's parents still went over and helped out at the new house along with some other people that Jazzy had hired. And so yesterday was another full day at the new house, and then same thing today. This morning got up and we went back over there and pretty much spent all day over there. The house is coming along for only having been official owners for I guess three and some hours, 3 days and some hours. It's looking pretty good, so we'll see how that turns out. I'll keep you posted. Um, Now, I did mention we are moving. We're moving pretty quick, and we already made a decision. And somehow this tended to work out in our favor. Where at first we were looking at long time places to rent in Fresno. Jazzy had the idea of like, why don't we look at an Airbnb? And at first you'd think like, well, that's kind of crazy. That's super expensive. We found some places that actually are really nice. And while they initially were pretty expensive, Jazzy went and negotiated quite a bit. Of course, if someone is has a high price, but their occupancy is on the lower side, then perhaps they'd be willing to negotiate, especially considering if we're going to go 6 to 12 months straight, right? I don't think they can beat that occupancy, but we wanted a discount and we got it. So, not sure what these numbers are going to look like in the future when you guys are watching this. Um, but we came in at about $4,000 a month. And obviously, it's an Airbnb, so it's fully furnished. But the big kicker to that is that they essentially pay all the utilities. That could easily be between 500 and 1,000, right? They're paying the insurance, so um, it's a lot. So it feels like we got, I don't want to say lucky, but it feels like it's a very big discount. It's in a great area. It's close to the club that we belonged to before, where we would go and play tennis, and so we're pretty comfortable where we are. Well, with us actually picking the date, we are going to be moving then. I think June. I think it's the June 7th or 8th is probably when we'll officially get the moving date there. That coincides with your guys' school. That would end on June 6th, which is a Friday. We gave ourselves 5 days. The following Thursday, I think it's June 12th. Well, we have this house that I'm recording this from. This is our primary. We already got photos. We already listed it on Airbnb, and we made it active as of June 12th. And as of now, we already have one booking in June and another one in July. So it's pretty much set. It's guaranteed. We're out. We're moving. Okay, let's get to the bigger topic, right? What else? Last episode, I said that I'm officially retiring from the corporate world, or at least having another boss. So we'll have to see if I'm able to sort of stick to that. Well, that means there's going to be a lot of thinking and a lot of things that I'm going to have to decide on in terms of what am I going to do next. I definitely am leaning towards anything that is franchise. Can't remember if I shared this last time, but I do not think I'm going to be starting any business from scratch. I don't even know that I would want to sort of buy an existing business. If the people I'm buying it from weren't able to train me, right? So I've never really ran my own restaurant, and so as much as it'd be cool to have a restaurant, and 100% I know all the challenges that come along with that and the risks. I don't know like what it would be like, so I don't think it'd be smart for me to go and buy an existing restaurant, without that experience. Starting a restaurant, let's say if it wasn't franchise or buying an existing one, of course, if there was some way to work with the owners and make it more like, following some sort of a model where you have the support, the advisors, people that are willing to help you with, supplies and whatever else you might need, that goes a long way. But uh, Jazzy and I, we have had a franchise in the past. We've done a lot of research on franchisees and totally understand a lot of the benefits that can come along with that as well. So while that's probably the more likely path we'll go, and I had already done some research on my own, I do have my sort of top choice for a franchise, and so I'll get into that in 1 second. Um, but somehow Jazzy and I, we were online and must have filled something out, and a franchise consultant reached out and asked, if we could get on a call, and so did that. And I didn't really know what to expect, but after an introductory call, found out that they could be a really really good valuable person to work with. And so the way that I think about it is they're almost like a matchmaker, right? Um, they're free for me, doesn't cost me anything. They generally will only work with high net worth individuals, right? And so they're going to do their own vetting. And so from the conversations I had, they said, "Great, no, we're somebody that they want to work with. That's great." They also have a select franchisees that they work with on their end. And essentially, if they're able to pair me up and I essentially sign on with one of the franchisees that they introduced me to, then I believe that's where they get paid. They get compensated by the franchise, right? So they're paying these consultants to go out and find qualified people to make the introductions for, right? Definitely helps them weed out a lot of the noise, signal out a lot of the noise. And then on my end, the interesting thing is initially I was like, well, wait a minute, why can't I just, like, all these franchises exist? It's pretty easy to go and do my own research and find them. But pretty quickly, from the next conversation I had in terms of how to approach this, I realized that no, there's a lot of value in terms of them helping me and obviously other people they work with keep an open mind. And just from the last call I had, she shared four franchise concepts with me. All are probably ones I would have skipped. I probably would have just looked them over and not kind of digged a little bit deeper in. Um, but she asked me to have an open mind, and after kind of digging in a little bit more, I realized that yeah, no, this is actually good. She's coming up with some concepts here that I would have overlooked, and now I'm gonna start having some of the conversations with some of the people from those franchisees as early as this week. So I'm just gonna quickly run through these, and then in the next call, I'll tell you how the calls went, and I should be having conversations with all of them this week, if not at least next week. So the one that I knew on my own, there is a pizza restaurant called Slice House, started by Tony Gemignani. Um, and he's a world famous pizza maker. I think I'm remembering this correctly, but he's a 13-time pizza world champion maker. He's been on various TV shows, featured in a lot of different sort of publications, and he's fairly well known. And it's high quality artisan style pizza. And it turns out that Jazzy and I are actually investors in one of their original Slice House locations up in the Bay Area. So that's how I knew about them. I had heard that they had started to franchise a few years ago, and we happened to reach out, and it looks like the Fresno area is available. I had the first initial call, right? You have to fill out the application, and they got back to me basically saying, like, look, in order to get to the next step, you're going to have to come up with some sort of a document, a presentation, PowerPoint, you name it, send it over, and they would want to know, why do I think I would be a good match for them? At the same time, why do I think they would be a good match for me? And so I spent some time, came up with what I thought would be pretty cool, a document outlining all the things that I was thinking through. I shared it with them, I think on maybe Thursday, and Friday already heard back saying that they're interested in following up. So I'm hoping that I'll get another call with them, with somebody from the operation side, not the sales side, scheduled for this week, where I'll start to learn a little bit more about Slice House and what I can expect. Now getting to the four concepts that the consultant shared with me. Four of them. There's one called Pause Studios. There's another one called Project Lean Nation. There's another one called Floor Coverings International. And the last one is PureTech. The interesting thing about these four is that as she was walking me through, her thinking is that all of these in some way align back to some of the things that we discussed when she was essentially trying to learn a little bit more about me, right? Like, what kind of a business would I get excited about? What kind of revenue slash profits am I looking for? How much am I willing to spend? What type of time commitment would I be okay with? And would I be an owner operator, meaning like, hey, I'm going to be the person that runs that business and gets it off the ground, versus some people maybe want to start more in the executive role of like, hey, I just want to come in and sit in an office and hire some people that are going to do the work. So we'll go into Pause Studios, the first one she shared. This one's interesting. It's a wellness type center, right? So Jazzy and I already had a float spa in the past. This Pause facility actually has a float spa. They also do infrared saunas. They do cryotherapy. They do cold plunges. And I think I saw something about some sort of compression massage technology that they have as well, right? So this is one that probably would be more on the expensive side, right? You're building something out, you're buying some heavy machinery, equipment, or whatnot. And it's spa like. You've got different rooms. You're gonna have showers, right? Some of these actually have a lot of water. And then that's a membership based type model, right? You do a lot of advertising, marketing, probably don't need a lot of staff. But then as clients come in, you're gonna have to be pretty dialed in terms of how to pitch and explain and sell, the services here to your customers. I also went to the website and looked it up, and the memberships aren't cheap, right? Even for like the smallest sort of or the most affordable option is you get to go in there for a 30-minute session, once a month, and I think that's at like $60. But if you want to go in there a couple of times, an hour each time, and you want to try out all the different services, it can be close to $300 or $400 a month. So definitely feels more like, yes, it's a much more expensive build up front. Once you get a recurring client base, of course, I can see how that maybe would be really profitable. But it seems like it's a big investment, and not going to get into it now, but it seems like there's some risk involved there, right? Especially if we're thinking through, do you want something that's recession proof, especially now with sort of where the economy is today. So, but either way, I'm keeping an open mind, and I told the consultant that, you know what, for these four, you presented them, I'll take the calls. It's good for me to also get some experience of being able to jump on the call and ask the right questions so I can really vet this out. The second one is Project Lean Nation. This one, when we had our other calls, same thing with the pause. It's, as I'm into wellness and health, longevity, all these sorts of things. Project Lean Nation is I guess it's a retail store. They generally would like to pair these up next to gyms or other sort of fitness centers or whatnot. And it's pre-prepared meals, pre-prepared food, but it's individually prepared, tailored to a person. So the first thing that came to mind, even when she was explaining this, was, and I don't know if you guys are ever gonna know about this. I don't know if this is gonna exist by the time you guys watch this, but it would be like a Weight Watchers, some sort of a food program or diet program where people that need a specific diet, they go and get their food or meals prepared. This one, at first, I was kind of like, well, I don't know. If they're saying that this is really health conscious, health, can be defined differently. So for me, I don't know if I've shared this here before, but I primarily follow a plant-based diet. Now, I would probably, if you look this up, and assuming the blue zones is still a thing, the blue zone diet is generally, it's not a lot of processed food. If no, I mean probably no processed food at all. It's mainly a plant-based diet. There is some seafood involved, a little bit here and there, and they might have, there might be, a handful, maybe 2 or 3 eggs a week. But outside of that, they generally stay away from all dairy, generally stay away from all meat, pork, and poultry. Um, so again, if I'm gonna go and have a retail store that is largely, providing pre-prepared meals, that is chicken and other things, then I don't know if I can get behind that. I don't know if that would be the right thing for me. Also, not sure if that's something I'd be super passionate about, having a store that just does meal prep for people. So, but I'll take the call, and we'll see how that one goes. The next one, which actually maybe now that I think about it, this was the one where I was like, wait, what? Floor Coverings International. This is essentially selling floors. It's carpets, hardwood, tile, and you name it, anything else that you walk on, right? The concept here is there isn't a physical retail location that people visit. So instead of people essentially coming to visit your store, it's you bring your mobile showroom to them. First, I was like, this sounds like sales. It sounds like I got to get in a van and drive around and, sell people on selling carpets. Probably not something that I would be very interested in. And then as she started talking about more about it, and the reason behind it, she's like, look, you're in real estate, you're in property management, you have bought and sold a bunch of houses, you've done remodeling. So if you have a network of people that are buying real estate and flipping houses or other things, could be a way to get the foot in the door. And the other thing that she thought would be pretty enticing as well is this seems like something that once the foundation is set up and you've built a customer base, and especially if you work with commercial clients and builders and other developers, then this might be more of an executive path where, hey, you hire a few people, you teach them and you train them, you coach them in the right way. The business, once it's set up, then yeah, it probably is more of you're in an office taking phone calls and managing clients, and your teams are the ones going out there and driving the vans around. So I was like, okay, I'll take the call. All right, we'll see what happens. Now I just got some emails and I saw some videos and I went online, and based on what I'm seeing, that one actually seems pretty cool, right? Not sure if I'm the most passionate about selling floors, but the whole business concept and the idea in general is starting to grow on me. So we'll see how this one plays out. And then the last one, she kind of threw it out there and she told me, don't laugh at her. Uh, and she goes, "Do you know anything about hydraulics?" And I'm like on cars, machinery, forklifts. I know forklifts have hydraulics, right? And she goes, "Yeah." So there's a company that I think, if I remember this correctly, started in Australia, and it blew up. And essentially, the concept is like most businesses, especially if you get into sort of manufacturing, anyone that has machines. So think wineries, breweries on the restaurants sort of on that side. There's where we are in Fresno, which is I think why she also thought of this, is very big on agriculture. And then anything that has to do with construction and equipment and machinery, as well as cars in general. Anytime a hydraulic um, or tubes essentially go bad, then business shuts down, and people are standing around, like just lots of loss of revenue. And this concept has really grown where it's kind of like, and this is she didn't explain all this to me, but after I went online and I looked, it's almost as if this is an auto parts store, but not for autos, right? It's almost like it's a hydraulics and pumps sort of store for manufacturing. And anytime something happens, specific to hydraulics, of course, then they call you, and the business model is you show up within an hour and exchange those parts. So basically, they can be up and running within an hour as opposed to them having to go drive somewhere or order parts or whatever it is that they would do today. And this concept that's really taken off. They're trying to go really big in the U.S. I think they've already signed some sort of a sponsorship deal with NASCAR. So it sounds like it's a big deal. After I went to the website and looked, it's the one. Again, I think probably Project Lead Nation. Not sure about that one. And then this one, after now seeing it a little bit more, not sure that I would want to have an actual parts retail location where people are coming in talking to me about hydraulics and whatnot. Seems like almost similar to having some sort of an auto parts store. But I don't know. Again, I will take the calls and we will see where that goes. The interesting thing is, all of these somehow connected back to the conversations I had outside of Pause Studios. I think the Project Lean Nation, Floor Coverings International, and PureTech, they probably have lower cost of entry, so it's lower risk. But again, I'll take the calls, and I think I'm gonna have to come up with my own sort of rubric to understand how can I figure out what's going to be most important to me, right? And maybe it needs to be a combination where I actually, have a scoring system. And I think that's where the rubric would come in, right? So what am I passionate about? What do I actually want to do? What kind of a business would I want to be a part of? But then I also probably want to think about, okay, well, it's got to make money. It can't just be what I want to do. It's got to make money. And part of that could also be, how fast am I making money, or how quickly can I get to a break even, especially if the cost is high. So if I'm going to invest a lot of money as a startup cost, how quickly do I get that money back, and how quickly do I generate a profit, right? So the cost of the business compared to how quickly I make the money back. But then also, right, how complex or how difficult is it to actually be in this business, right? So do I need to have 20 employees? Right? Is it just constant turnover? Right? Restaurants might have constant turnover. Restaurants might have, food that goes bad. Right? Restaurants also can have a higher cost to build out if you need specialty equipment, slice house. I'm gonna need some pizza ovens and other kitchen stuff. So all those things to consider. I'll have to figure out exactly how to come up with the right rubric so I can see what the score comes out. But I think the main thing, probably said it 10 times, maybe more, but like I'm trying to keep an open mind. I'm trying to really have as many conversations as possible so that I don't come in with this thinking, oh, I want a restaurant because I can hang out and talk to customers. It'll be fun. But it could also be more challenging, cost more money. So that's the piece I really got to figure out. So that is going to be this week. Conversations, deep dive in there and trying to figure out what's the next step. So, okay, that's where I'm at. So until next time, peace.